Yo, what's up guys, it's Zach. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for all the recent support as well. It's been really nice to see a lot of new people coming into the channel as well. So yeah, just wanted to give everyone a big thanks. So in this vid, since we have got a bit of an influx of new players just generally to the game, and I've had quite a few to the channel as well, we're going to go over something that's really important when looking at how to fit ships and how to sort of min-max them or give the stats a little bit better just by comparing stats. So literally we're going to be using the compare tool, and this is like such a simple thing, but a lot of people don't know about it, especially in terms of newer players. So it does what it says on the tin. Let's just pick this mic warp drive. So if you show info on any module, let's close this a sec. You can see there's just like a massive list of stuff. You've got your standard T1, your T2 stuff, your storyline, faction, and your dead space modules. Now, obviously, these dead space ones are pretty nice, right? That's what you get the biggest bonuses from these ones. So in terms of mighty warp drives, what we're looking for is maybe something that's pretty fast, something that's not going to fit, like cost the earth to fit, like power grid and CPU wise, or you're looking for something that's going to take up less capacitor, give you less of a nerf on your actual capacitor, because each of the modules in the game have got like activation costs and all that sort of stuff. So for example, the mighty warp drive is a really good one if you're struggling to keep your ship stable, if you are using the mighty warp drive initially. And even if these aren't turned on, you still get a cap hit. So if we just go to the compare button, that's literally how you get the tool open. It's going to give you a list of all the stuff here, all the modules that are in the game, and this is all the stats that those modules have on every one of them. So you can filter it by max velocity. That's gonna, and you can just hit the tabs there. So if you're looking just for the plain fastest, 518%, and I like to try and compare these against the T2 counterparts. So we'll get a decent little 8% extra speed. It's a lot of money, this one though. I know it's like hard to compare the two. So what we're looking at for activation cost, that's another one that can be really good. So the T2 is 200 gigajoules per cycle, and the Gistem A type is only 180. So if you're looking for something to save cap on, you could just sort it by activation cost. So you can see the storyline one here, man, that's super expensive, is like 140 gigajoules. So that's really low in terms of activation cost per cycle. And the enduring is 160. So if you're looking for something a little, it's obviously going to be a little bit slower, but the trade-off is you get the better or the lower activation cost. So it's going to be a less hassle on your cap. And also for mighty warp drives, one of the biggest ones is the actual capacitor capacity bonus. Now, every one of these you put on your ship is going to nerf your cap somehow. So let's go to the lowest. So this is actually the lowest hit of your actual capacitor. So basically, if you're starting at 100% cap, you put this on, you're going to only have like 97% cap, if that makes sense, but it's still going to be 100% like on your ship. You're just not going to have that actual capacitor pool. So the gigajoules in total is going to be lower. So sometimes, for example, like a T2 here, that gives you a huge nerf of 20%, right? So even though the module is cheap, I mean, people don't really use the T2s anyway. The quad lift's probably the one to go. So like for 5% less speed than the T2, you get 20 gigajoules less, the same amount of cap nerf, but obviously it's like way cheaper. So, and I think the signature as well. I mean, you can see just how in depth, like just even looking at the mighty warp drives, you can go when you're looking at your fits. So the signature radius, especially the T2, it's pretty big. And as you go down the list there. So the Gistem A type, which is the reason why it's really expensive. And if you remember initially, we looked and it was only 8% faster than the Tech 2 variant, which isn't like a massive jump for the price. I mean, look at it, it's like nearly 400 mil. But you get a really low sig radius. And not a bad gigajoule like activation cost, but one of the most important ones here is you only get minus 3% cap nerf, and that could be the difference between being stable and not being stable, or like a few extra reps of your shield booster or your armor rep or whatnot. So that's pretty cool. And this capacity bonus nerf actually applies just when the modules fit into your ship, not even when it's just activated or nothing. So bear that in mind, guys. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I thought I would just show you this like in the wild, like how it works. So we've got a Tengu here. This is a one I use for doing 510s. It's pretty cheap. Now I usually run this for with my Geno clone, so I've got like all the extra CPU and capacitor and stuff. So I thought, let's try and test this out. We'll try and make it a bit stable and a little bit better maybe, just to show you how like this actually works in terms of like doing it yourself, right? So you can see we're pretty much like Tech 2. We've got the restrained mighty warp drive on there just because of the cap and stuff. But you can see we're still like miles over with CPU, so nearly 5%. So a little is it EC? EG? EE, that's the one. So the 5% CPU is going to cost us like 130 mil. So really, we don't want to do that if we're running this without the Geno implants. So let's see if we can make the fit just a little bit cheaper. So straight away we've got with T2 hardeners, which we can't change. And if we just show info on these, go to compare, and then because we're looking at CPU, we can just literally click CPU. So you can actually see the Tech 2s are taking up like loads of CPU. So that's 44 each, 88 in total just for those two mods. So let's see if we can pull that down just for a little bit cheaper. So what's the lowest one? So we got 30 on the CPU there, 31 on this one. And we can also sort by kinetic damage. So I think the T2 is like 49.5. So let's just say 50. So what else is 50 with a much lower CPU need here? So this domination one, same res. So minus 50% on the kinetic. But you can see the CPU is like way lower. But really, we really want like the lowest we can go here for not breaking the bank. So there's a Caldari Navy. That gives us a little bit extra res. Gisty C as well. So of course these have got activation costs as well, but are really the negligible. It's only like 2 or 3 between. So for this type of mod, I wouldn't really look at that. Activation time can be different as well. So, but I mean, that's just going a little bit too min-max for just this like little cheap mod here. So what's the highest we've got? STML's obviously lol, no one's got that. The Pithx, so you can see that's the best one, minus 57.1% kinetic damage received, but it's like 20 mil and we're only saving 2 CPU, so that's like not really good. So in terms of like cost, you can, if you sort it by cost and stuff, you can just go like the middle ground and have a look. So what's 34, 33, 33 there? So there's a decent res bonus, so 51.5, not a great deal over the T2, but the CPU is only 33 and it's only like 4 mil. So if we unfit these kinetics real quick, you can drag and drop from here as well. So that saved us like an absolute ton of CPU. So only 6% over now, which is pretty cool. And we're all like not cap stable as well though. So if we close this, we've just literally been looking at the mighty warp drive. So let's have a look at the middle ground again. We can unfit that. So we're looking for cap capacity bonus. We're not really bothered about top speed or sig. So let's just have a look what's going to take the less cap and not break the bank. So obviously we're not going to be buying that 400 mil one. Man, there's one with 700 mil. Holy mackerel. So let's sort by price then, because the numbers are all over here. Remember, we can either spend 133 mil to get this to fit, or we can use the implants, or we can just mess around with this just to try and keep it a bit cheaper. So we're going to spend like 30-40 mil trying to get it to fit with better mods. That's really good. Save you the cash on the hardwire. So what's pretty much in the middle? It's got like 85 mil or something. Yeah. So it's not like too great, is it? So the Tech 2 is given a minus 20% cap nerf. So we want something way lower than that. So the 3% ones are going to be pretty expensive, obviously. 200 mil. So I think like 100 mil-ish is looking pretty good. So this 5% one is only a few mil more, well, nearly 10 mil more than this minus 10% one. So I think the Gisty B is looking pretty good. It is 100 mil though, so we might come back to this in a second. So there. So we're still 6%, well, minus 6 on the CPU, And look, we're now cap stable, even with this running, right? So that's pretty good, because in the Dead 5, the first couple of rooms, because I use the hams, they're pretty short range. I am like mighty warp driving around a bit, so that's not too bad. I have already got a pimp booster on this. So what else can we save? And like it's in the name, cheapish. We're up to 640 mil now, but we can do something with these ballistics as well. But let's try and keep it in the mid rack if possible. Right, so again, we'll go to compare. And these shield boost amps are just like nuts for CPU. You can see like they just take crazy amounts. Whereas with Tech 2 here, so it's right in the middle. 55 CPU it takes, and it's less than a mil. So it's a really good mod if you've got the room. And obviously cheap, right? So the next one, what we got here? CPU wise, so we want to be looking down the way here. So some of these are like ridiculously expensive, but we're only missing 6 CPU here. So if we can get something for like 40 or 30, that'll be pretty good. So there's a GIST there for like 144 mil. Expensive. And also remember, like with this fit, now we can get like just a 2% hard wire. How much would that cost? So that's only 6 mil. So like right now it would make sense to get that, but just to show you guys how much we can save on this. Like CPU wise, because obviously everyone's skills isn't the same. That's a lot of cash to be spending. Anything cheaper? So this Tech 1 variant only uses 40. And the shield boost over the T2. So we'll get 36% on the T2. And we'll get 32.5. So it's like what, 4%. So I think we could switch to that if we wanted to go cheap. So there you can see we've got like tons of CPU left, which is pretty nice. So yeah, that's pretty much how it works. All right, next up guys is like comparing ammo and weapons and things. So this is a little bit more complicated. Well, not complicated, but not like as user friendly as the mods is. So what happens is with the ammo, for example, with the frequency crystals, if you want to go Imperial Navy multi-frequency, if you want to compare those, you can only compare the type that's the same as those. So you got your faction type and your Tech 2. So if we hit the compare tool here, it's only giving us a list of these and not the other types of laser we can actually compare against, right? So we can close that real quick. And if we come up here to the top left and hit the near-com and then go utilities, we've actually got a button called compare tool, and this will open just like a clean window, and then you can literally just drag and drop whatever you want in. So in terms of lasers, you want to be using the Imperial Navy frequency crystals for the most part. So if we just drag in the gamma, infrared, microwave, multi-frequency, radio, standard, and ultraviolet, and finally the X-ray. So you can see the variation in the costs and everything. And lasers do EM and thermal damage for the most part. There is an exception which we'll check out in a second. And we've got our range bonus, and you can see like the highest DPS crystal is actually a minus 50% range bonus. So you get half your range on your gun when you're using it. So rule of thumb in Eve, you're doing your most damage close range pretty much. So I think you heavy assault missile launchers for the Caldari, your blasters for Galante, auto cannons for the Mimitar, and of course pulse lasers for the Armor. So these will all affect them. You can use this ammo in the long range, in the beam lasers, for example, but you'll still only get, like half your range of like potential what your guns can do. So that's one way of comparing like how you want to run your guns and stuff. So for example, let's have a look at the radio here. This gives you the biggest range. So that's actually a plus 60% bonus to your range. So you could be like hitting out 100 kilometers with a Stratios with beams, depending on how you are fit. But this doesn't do any thermal damage. It's the only one of the ammo that doesn't. And if you want to go like just a little bit lower range and just have a bit more DPS there, you can go microwave. So you can balance your DPS for how far you're like shooting, you know. You can switch out these on the fly. And yeah, because I had a question about that this morning as well on the YouTube comments. So I hope that cleared that up for the lasers. Of course, lasers use capacitor, and if you want to save loads of capacitor, if you want to actually if you like you're nearly cap dry and stuff and you're really struggling to shoot your guns, you could switch to these standards which use like minus 45%. So yeah, all in all, this tool like really helps with ammo as well, especially like dragging and dropping like this. So yeah, pretty good. One other thing we can look at real quick, because hybrid charges are cool. Let's have a look at the faction ones here. So again, I'm only covering the multi-frequency and these just because there's that many types of them and people get really confused, especially the new players. I mean, hell, I'm even like looking at ranges and stuff because I don't know like off the top of my head for some of the like weird ammo, right? So let's hit the compare tool again, and we've got our Federation Navy, or we can use the Caldari, whatever one you want. Let's just stick with Federation. So let's just drag them all in, get them all sorted, and then we can look, because this does actually give you like big changes, and I'll show you an example on a ship with these ones as well. So again, these ones do kinetic and thermal damage. So if you just wanted the highest damage, like at a glance, it's your antimatter, right? So again, that's going to be the closest range. So that's minus 50% range on your guns. So basically the way that works, I know I should have explained it before, if your gun can hit out like a 10 kilometers, if you put this charge in your gun, you're only going to be shooting at 5 kilometers basically. But there is obviously fall off and everything with the hybrid, so you've just got to like have a look. And the capacitor need bonus, again, you've got like ones that take less capacitor to shoot, like these lead ones, and we've got ones that take just the standard amount, so cap need there. So if we have a look at this, I had one here all set to go. Just switch a couple of things off so it doesn't deplete that bad. So right now we've got like 2 minutes 36 seconds, and if we chuck in some antimatter, so again the cap need of that doesn't actually change, so we're still stuck at like 2 minutes 36, which is all right. And if we put the one that takes the least amount in, which is the lead, that goes up to 3 minutes 45, so you can see you get like an extra a lot of time like shooting, so that's like what, less than a minute or something. So if we dump all this off, so if we weren't using all this stuff, we'll go 15 minutes. Obviously it's a PvP ship, it doesn't really matter too much because like with this one we've got a cap booster or whatever. It's just to show you the actual difference on the cap. I mean 50% is like pretty big, right? So what else we got if we just stick that back in there? 442 to 15. I mean that's a pretty big deal, right? And the ranges, obviously, that's all going to depend on the way your guns work, which we could probably do in like a separate video. I'd actually like to do a full like guide and stuff. Oh, so there's Gail asking if we're doing a vid. Just put no. Oh, stream, sorry. Just put no doing a vid. Happy days. There you go, Gail. It's space famous. Right. So I hope that covers everything that the compare tool has to offer. Obviously, like I say, every module and gun is going to have different attributes and things that you can switch on and off or sort by price just to see how it's going to work. But yeah, I think that went on for a little bit longer than I expected. I actually just to explain the compare tool, but it's pretty good to go in depth with these things. And yeah, we're definitely going to be doing some more of these guides in the future. If you'd like some more, or like a specific like bit of help that you think I can show you guys on video, please drop it in the comments and I'll do my best to get it to you. But yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I will see you in the next one.